What happens when one Supreme Court decision sends shockwaves across the entire United States? Tonight, millions of Americans are reacting after a controversial legal battle reached the nation's highest court. Supporters are calling it a victory for constitutional rights. Critics say it could change America forever. Politicians are clashing, social media is exploding, and legal experts are warning that the consequences may only be beginning. This is the story behind the Supreme Court decision that has the entire country talking. Earlier this week, the United States Supreme Court released a decision that immediately triggered nationwide attention. Within minutes of the announcement, major news networks interrupted regular programming. Online searches skyrocketed, political commentators flooded television panels, and across social media platforms, millions of users began debating what this ruling could mean for the future of the country. The case had already been under intense public scrutiny for months, but few expected the reaction to become this intense. Outside government buildings, protesters gathered carrying signs and flags. Some celebrated the decision, others called it deeply dangerous. Legal analysts quickly pointed out that this ruling may influence future court battles for years to come, and now many Americans are asking the same question. How did the country get here? To understand the controversy, we need to go back several years. The legal dispute originally started as a smaller state-level case. At first, few people outside legal circles paid attention, but as the case moved through lower courts, constitutional questions began attracting national interest. Advocacy groups joined the fight, political organizations became involved, media coverage intensified, and eventually the dispute reached the Supreme Court. For months, Americans waited as attorneys prepared arguments that could potentially reshape national legal standards. When oral arguments finally began, tensions inside the courtroom were already extremely high. Observers noticed several justices aggressively questioning both sides. Some exchanges became heated, others hinted that the court itself may have been deeply divided. That uncertainty only increased public speculation, and as the final ruling approached, the entire country waited. The reaction was immediate. News anchors described the ruling as historic. Political leaders released statements within hours. Some praised the court for defending constitutional principles. Others accused the justices of pushing the country toward greater division. Across social media, hashtags connected to the case began trending almost instantly. Videos discussing the ruling collected millions of views overnight. Legal influencers, journalists, and political commentators all rushed to explain what had happened, but despite the endless opinions online, many Americans remained confused. What exactly does the ruling change? Who benefits? And who could be affected next? Experts say the answer may depend on future legal challenges still moving through the court system, because while this case may be over, its consequences are likely only beginning. Several constitutional scholars now believe this ruling could influence future decisions involving federal authority, state rights, and individual protections. Some experts warn that similar cases are already being prepared across multiple states. Others argue the court simply clarified constitutional boundaries that had remained uncertain for years. But one thing is clear, the decision has intensified political tensions nationwide. Some lawmakers are now demanding new legislation, others are calling for additional court reforms, and legal organizations on both sides are preparing for the next major courtroom battles. Meanwhile, ordinary Americans continue debating the issue online, at workplaces, and across communities. Because for many people, this case represents something bigger than law. It represents the growing divide shaping modern America. As the tension surrounding the ruling exploded, media coverage became non-stop. Cable news networks aired emergency legal panels. YouTube creators published reaction videos within minutes. Podcasts released overnight analysis episodes. And on TikTok, short clips discussing the case spread rapidly across millions of screens. But alongside factual reporting, misinformation also began spreading. False claims circulated online. Misleading headlines confused viewers, and several viral posts exaggerated what the court had actually decided. This forced legal experts to repeatedly remind the public of one important reality. Understanding Supreme Court decisions often requires careful legal interpretation, not emotional social media reactions. Yet in today's internet era, viral content often spreads faster than facts. And that has made public trust increasingly difficult to maintain. Now, attention is turning toward what comes next. Will Congress respond with new legislation? Could future lawsuits challenge parts of the ruling? Will additional Supreme Court cases expand its impact? At this moment, nobody fully knows. But many analysts agree on one thing. This decision will likely remain part of America's political conversation for years. Future elections may even be shaped by the debates now unfolding. And with tensions continuing to rise, the nation appears more divided divided than ever. For supporters, the ruling represents constitutional protection. For critics, it represents a dangerous shift. But regardless of political opinion, one fact is impossible to ignore. America is changing, and the battles shaping its future are increasingly happening inside courtrooms rather than Congress. As new legal fights emerge, millions of Americans will continue watching closely, because the next major decision could once again change everything. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe for more in-depth news documentaries and real-time legal analysis. And tell us in the comments, do you believe this ruling helps America or divides it even further?